Hi everyone, how's everyone all been? Apologies there. I was just getting some last minute details done, writing my notes down for when I take down super chats and stuff. There's always some stuff that I seem to forget when it comes to these live streams that at the last minute I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do that and that and that and that. So that's why it took a little bit longer. But I'm here now, how's everyone all been? Oh, it's great to see all of you here. The Nine, Kidding Cell. Haven't seen you in a hot minute. It's good to see you again here, buddy. George Phillips, Jess, Big Bash, as always. I'm glad I was able to give you a video yesterday, the Let's Binge Watch for your gym session, and now you got this for a gym session. Spirit Hero, I heard that. I hope you get better. Yeah. Funnily enough, I was getting better, but you might notice there are patches on me. You guys were asking me why do my eyes look tired last week. It's because I got some eczema on my face, which suddenly just decided to pop up. So that's annoying. So yeah, that's why you probably can see the patches. A patch there, and around my eyes area. Charleston, no, I've not seen the new trailer for Transformers 1, but I'm going to try to watch it, hopefully after this stream, and then put it up on my Patreon so you guys can see my reaction to it. Big Bash says, Eric, you really made my weekend, the Echo video and now this stream. Thank you. No, you're very, very welcome. I'm glad I was able to make your weekend. And after this live stream, I'm going to publish a review, a quick movie review for a film that I just saw 2 days ago on Friday, the day it opened. So you'll have another video from me then as well. Funny says, I'm playing Pokemon while watching this. Which Pokemon are you playing? And I'm assuming it's on the Switch. Kidding Cell says, will you make a video about Godzilla x Kong? Well, this is not normally the stuff I would like to say, just in case it doesn't work out, so keep in mind this could end up not happening, but I am making mini versus videos for Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and Godzilla vs. Kong vs. Godzilla x Kong. I'm trying to do mini versus videos of the two of those, to kind of keep you going as I'm working on the Avatar versus video, and the other versus videos as well, like Puss in Boots. Because those versus videos, as you know, they do take a while longer. But yeah, I've noticed, because of the month and a half I was not well, it made me realize, wow, the last versus video I did was of Chicken Run 1 versus Chicken Run 2. So yeah, I've not done a versus video for a hot minute as well, so I need to really get back into those. I am working on multiple of them, so hopefully you'll get 4 of versus videos. Because like I said, I'm working on 2, then I've got Puss in Boots versus, and I've got Avatar The Last Airbender versus. And then after that I'm going to finish off the Spider-Man versus, which is still is the idea which I'm trying to do. And of course, any commission videos that you guys commission over on my Patreon, I get to make those as well. So yeah. Feather Guardian says, sorry I'm late. Have to recover from moving home, stress and body pain recovery. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, buddy. George Phillips says, have you seen Abigail? I'm really looking forward to it. That's the movie that I actually am reviewing as part of the quick movie review. Charleston says, I watched the Echo video too. The part where you voiced over the news anchor on the TV made me laugh. Yeah, that was a little joke bit I did. It was a very on-the-nose bit, wasn't it? In Echo, when they do the credit scene. For those of you that don't know, at the very end of Echo, there is a credit scene in the final episode. It's supposed to tease Daredevil Born Again. And it has Kingpin on an aeroplane, and then he's like just whining like a little baby, like the MCU have turned him into a baby. And then all of a sudden he looks at the TV that's on in the corner of the plane. And on it is basically a couple of news guys, a couple of news anchors, talking about how there's an election going on for mayor. And they're saying that what we need is someone who is a bare-knuckle fighter, an outsider, someone who can take on the establishment. And they're saying, is that candidate even out there? And Kingpin's looking at it like, you know, he wants to be mayor. Although I don't know who would make him mayor after what happened in Daredevil Season 3. But yeah, it was just so on the nose. So I just said, how about they go all the way? Someone who's an outsider, a bare-knuckle fighter, and someone who killed his father with a hammer when he was a kid, and someone who's got a big, bald head, and someone who also has a wife named Vanessa. Then I cut back to the video of them saying, is that candidate even out there? It's like they might as well have. It was just so bloody on the nose. Ethan's Drawing says, I'm playing Sonic the Hedgehog 1 while watching your stream. Oh, cool. What are you playing it on? The Nintendo Switch, or have you got a portable emulation device? George Phillips says, I agreed with pretty much everything you said about Echo. The flashbacks were boring. Yep, they were. Yeah, Parker CS, I take it you've also seen that joke I did, because I did another joke about Kingpin, how much he was like just such a bitch in that show. And yeah, Ammon Anchovy is, yeah, you'll know if you've seen the video what that means. It's a joke I did in there. So yeah, Jacob says, I wish the news report was like, we need a person who is a big Kingpin. That would have been even more funny and on the nose, yeah. Huh, Feather Guardian says there's leaks that Ghostface, Conan, and the T-1000 will be in Mortal Kombat 1. Ghostface in Mortal Kombat. Wow. Alright, so is everyone looking forward to... let's see, Funny says, yes, it is on the Switch, aka Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Also, I agree your opinions on Echo. The first episode kind of confused me of how it went way too fast. The Dark Lord says, just want to say, thanks for watching the show for us. You're a brain cell saver. Well, yeah, well, I'm just sorry I didn't get the video up sooner, because, yeah, it just took me a while to make it, amidst everything else going on. Feather Guardian says, Deadpool 3 trailer starts tomorrow. Ryan confirmed it. Well, there's another trailer reaction for you to look forward to on my Patreon tomorrow. GCEHOA says, hey Eric, do you see my comment? I do see this comment you did, yeah. Big Bash says, Eric, you really did a great job with the weekend uploads, making the gym sessions go fast. Well, that's great. I'm so happy that it helped you in that way. Jess says, how's your day, Eric? My day was okay. A bit painful because of the eczema, but it's going okay, and it's always nice talking to you guys. George Phillips says, in your quick movie review, did you talk about the girl who was playing the vampire girl? When I watched her in Matilda, I thought she was good, but she was still just a kid, and I think she could be a great actress. Yes, I do talk about her performance in the movie. I don't really go beyond that. There's a reason I call it quick movie reviews, but yeah, I was very impressed with her. I was. Oh, look at that. I've got a donation already. Let's just write this down. It's $2.79. For those of you that don't know, as always, if you donate or do any super chats or Streamlabs chats with the link I've pinned in the chat, you'll be able to get your questions through, and I'll be able to answer them immediately. It doesn't matter if I'm telling a story. When I get to the stories like that are coming up, I will answer your question immediately. So if you want a question answered immediately, that's the way to do it, a super chat or a Streamlabs chat. Ethan says, you watch anime, and have you seen Attack on Titan? I do watch anime. I've watched it ever since I was a kid. Have I seen Attack on Titan? I've heard of it. I've seen a bit of the cartoon, but no, I've not seen the show, because I heard that it took so long for the seasons to come out. And to my understanding, I thought I'd just wait for them all to come out, and I think they have all come out now. But I did see the movies, and they were not that good. Some cool effects, but they weren't really good. But yeah, I hear that the anime of Attack on Titan is great. Thanks very much for the super chat, Ethan. I appreciate it. Okay, so I was about to say, the only thing that will stop me from going to the next story right now is another super chat, and then Kidding Cell comes in and does a $2 super chat. Thanks very much to you too, buddy, for the super chat. Other than The Dark Knight, what is your favourite movie, says Kidding Cell? Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. That is my second favourite movie of all time. I really do love that film. Midnight Dubstep says, finally, I get a chance to join your live stream. Sorry I missed your others. I haven't been getting the notifications, but YouTube can be retarded sometimes. Yep, YouTube can be. Such a shame that you've not been getting the notifications. Rohan says, hello, Eric. Oh, it's cool to hear that you've done this. Rohan says, Eric, by the way, I just finished the show Smallville. This show is amazing. It has incredible writing, and Clark Kent had great development. I agree. He did. I love the show as well. I do think it definitely went downhill at points, but it was really, really good as well. It's cool to hear, Rohan, that you finished it, because over the last few weeks you've said you've been watching it, and it's cool to now see that you've actually finished it. So yeah, I'm very happy that you've gone through it. It is a great show. Big, long journey, but a great show. Let's see. So what was the So yeah, Kidding Cell, that's my answer to your super chat. Thank you very much for it. Masked Hoodie 948 has also done a super chat, and let me just write this down. It's New Zealand dollars. I mean, I have Canadian dollars to write, then New Zealand dollars. That's what's going on here. $3.49. And Masked Hoodie says, "Evening, Eric. Do you still have hope for the DCU?" Yes, I do. I have hope for the DCU because James Gunn's got that first Superman coming. Let's give that a watch, and let's see how he does. That will determine what the DCU will be like going forward. However good that movie is, that's what will determine it. If it's not good, then the DCU is not off to a good start. It needs to be good. Okay. Alright, time to get to the story now. Let's talk about the story that you've all been waiting for. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has finally cast its Shadow the Hedgehog. So for those of you that don't know, I think it was at the end of Sonic 2. I haven't seen the movie since I saw it the first time. Basically, at the end of Sonic 2, it was said that it was teased in a credit scene that Shadow the Hedgehog would be in the next movie. And now he is. And all this time we were wondering who would actually play and voice Shadow the Hedgehog. And before I get to that, I'll quickly say Ethan has done another donation, this time $2.79 again. And his question is, have I seen Breaking Bad and its spin-offs? I have seen Breaking Bad, but I've not seen its spin-offs yet. I will at some point, but not anytime soon. But I did enjoy Breaking Bad. I thought the pacing went up and down, but I did enjoy it. There's a lot of amazing writing in that. So thank you very much for the super chat, buddy. Okay, back to the story. So we were wondering what voice would they get. Now, this is an interesting thing right here. Let me just minimize my notes, which have just covered the screen here. Now, here's the funny thing. It was rumored that Hayden Christensen, aka Anakin, would be voicing Shadow. And over the last few months, when I asked you guys what stories you want me to cover on the live stream, a lot of you guys wanted me to cover this rumor. And a lot of you actually thought it wasn't a rumor, but it was true. You thought it was like an actual announcement. And you wanted me to cover this, but I never did, because I said I will only cover this once the role has been cast and it has been made official. Because everyone was so certain that Hayden Christensen had been cast, when it turns out he hadn't. And well, it turns out that they cast Keanu Reeves instead. And honestly, I don't see him doing a voice that would fit. Now, I honestly feel like they went with him for star power over anything else. Keanu's voice to me is too recognizable. I think Hayden would have actually been a much more interesting and different choice. The operative word there being different. Because we've heard Keanu Reeves do voiceovers before. Like, we've heard him do Duke Kaboom in Toy Story 4. And I'm sure he's done a voice in something else too. So we've heard him do voices in animation. I think it would have been interesting to see Hayden Christensen do a voice in animation, because I don't think we've heard him do an animated voice. At least none that I've heard. So I think Hayden Christensen would have been the more interesting choice. Giving him this voice... But giving Keanu Reeves this voice, whose voice is just too recognizable, I mean, unless he puts on some kind of super awesome voice, it's just going to sound like Keanu doing his own voice again, I think. So I do wish that they would have cast someone different, maybe even the voice actor from the game that played Shadow. But this, yeah, I'm not really on board, to be honest, with Keanu voicing Shadow. But that doesn't mean I'm not open to it. So we'll see how it sounds in the final movie, or at least we'll see how it sounds in the trailer, because they'll definitely want to advertise that. But I don't know, just Keanu's own normal voice, I don't really see that as being a fit for Shadow. Shadow, to me, I feel like needs to be a bit more of a badass, I think. And Keanu, we know he's a badass, but his voice... I feel like we're just going to be thinking... If he puts on a badass voice, I feel like we'll just be imagining John Wick. Seeing John Wick's voice coming out of Shadow, which will be very weird. So yeah, that is definitely going to be bizarre. Just think of the casting, by the way. We've got Jim Carrey as Robotnik, Idris Elba as Knuckles, and Keanu Reeves as Shadow. That is an interesting cast, wouldn't you agree? Definitely an interesting cast, for sure. Oh, excuse me, I just got this itch in my eye that is like right on the inside. Anyway, what do you guys think then? Do you like the idea that he's cast? Someone just said Robert Pattinson as Shadow. Yeah, I actually think that could work as well. But Keanu Reeves, that is such a bizarre choice, I think. But what do you guys think? Jordan Reese says Shadow is also pretty much the John Wick of the Sonic universe. Is he? I know he's meant to be a badass. And he's meant to be more edgy. The G-Gamer says, was there a casting you weren't sure of, but they were amazing in the final movie? Yeah, Ben Affleck as Batman, Heath Ledger as Joker. You know, stuff like that. Kidding Cell says, I once heard someone say Hugh Jackman as Shadow. I mean, yeah, that also could have been interesting, but I don't know if, again, if we would hear, it would sound like probably like Wolverine coming out of Shadow. I think they needed someone who was new to voice acting, maybe. I think that they would have brought something new to it, I think. So, yeah. Eric says, no, I don't want Robert Pattinson as Shadow. Just think of Robert Pattinson. I haven't seen the movie yet, but what was that movie? That Miyazaki movie, was it? That won at the Oscars for Best Animated? The Boy and the Heron. Apparently he's in that, and his voice, I didn't even recognize it. So it makes me wonder if maybe he could do it, because if you watch Robert Pattinson in the movies that he's in, he really does always put on a different voice in a lot of the movies he's in. So if you gave him a chance at Shadow, I'm sure he would have looked at the design and thought, alright, let me have a go at this, and then he would have done something. So I think that would have been interesting. Robert Pattinson, you know, Batman as Shadow, that would have been cool. Could you imagine Christian Bale as Shadow? He'd just be putting on that rough Batman voice. He did that as John Connor as well. Kevin says, I hope for Keanu to voice him and my dream came true. Well, that's great. So hopefully he'll convince me as well. Funny says, I'm a Sonic fan, so I could kind of see he can voice Shadow. Okay, that's cool. I remember there was always a Shadow GameCube game that they announced, that they advertised on TV back when I was a kid, but I didn't have a GameCube or any console. So I remember when I got the LCD Steam Deck that you could see right there. My OLED Steam Deck is here on my desk somewhere. When I had the LCD Steam Deck and I was getting a bunch of GameCube games to emulate, I got Shadow the Hedgehog. I tried it a little bit, but I didn't play it properly yet. So, yeah, that's a game that I wanted to play. But yeah, so he always looked like a badass. I thought it looked like it was a much darker side of the universe whenever we were watching Shadow on the TV with Shadow the Hedgehog's video game. He always looked like he was a much darker character. Like they took all the fun out of Sonic and put you in this very dark and dingy location. That's what it felt like. Batman's Gamer says, I never played the Sonic games though. Yeah, so maybe you won't notice a difference. I'll tell you the truth, it's been such a long time, I can't even remember Shadow's voice from that game. It was on the adverts, but I can't remember it now. So yeah, let's see. It's alright, Fireboy. Let's see, the one with a shadow gun. Do you think that the movie version of Sonic is acting like Deadpool? A little bit. And he was also acting a little bit like Quicksilver from, the Fox X-Men as well, wasn't he? Feather Guardian says Paramount are allowed to adapt Adventure 06, Hero, CD, Riders, and Colors in the Sonic movies and spin-offs. Yeah, they can. Jess says Sonic Advance was my first game on my Game Boy. The first Sonic game I played was on my cousin's DS, because my uncle got me a DS and he got my cousin a DS. He got me a black one, the DS Lite this is. I still have it to this day. He got me a black one and he got my cousin a pink one, because she's a she. And I got Spider-Man 3 on the DS and she got Sonic Heroes on the DS. So when we went to go visit, we actually swapped our games and played each other's game. And it was actually pretty fun. That was the first time I played a Sonic game and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. It got boring to me after a while. Anytime you go underwater, that's where Sonic became less fun to me. But yeah, I remember enjoying it. Big Bash says, I hope Sonic is a little older, like 16 to 17 range. Yeah, that would be interesting, but do you really want him to be that much older? I think it would kind of... I'd like him to be a bit more mature, but I don't think I want him to be older. Maybe they could say he's 1 year older and he's more mature. But who knows, maybe... was it not Sonic Heroes then you're tearing me apart? What was it? Sonic Rush! Sonic Rush, that was it. Sonic Heroes is the PS2 game, isn't it? Yeah, it was Sonic Rush. Thanks for correcting me, that was it. Sonic Rush, that was the one. That was the first one I played. Sonic Heroes, I think, was the first one I played when you used to go into, like, your supermarket store or your grocery store, and they had, back in the day, and they had, like, a console hooked up, and Sonic was on it. That was one that we played. Yeah, Sonic Heroes on that. That's what I'm confusing it with. But the classic gameplay, it was Sonic Rush on the DS. That was the first time I played Sonic, the classic type of Sonic. So yeah, yeah, I love that. Some of you now, some of you are going down memory lane with Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog and 06 are underrated games to me, says Feather Guardian. Before we move on to the next story, do you guys have any memories of playing Sonic games? Let's talk about that, because Sonic is a part of everyone's childhood to some extent. So I'm curious. Ethan's Drawing says, my favourite Sonic games are Sonic 3, Sonic Mania, and Sonic Unleashed. Sonic Unleashed had a badass cover. Like, I remember seeing that cover. I wanted to play that as a kid. You're Tearing Me Apart says, I have Sonic Rush Adventure on DS. I never played that. I never played the first one. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Jess says, yeah, it was my childhood. Fireboy says, I'm playing Sonic Generation and Sonic Forces. For me... Oh, the Dark Lord says, no, not really. Funny says, the 2010 Sonic games were so jokingly bad. Oh, what's that heart covering your comment? The 2010 Sonic games were so jokingly, but finally Sonic Frontiers fixed the characters. Oh, that's good, that's good. Spirit Hero says, my mum played Sonic the Hedgehog back in the 90s. Yeah, it definitely transcends generations, doesn't it, Sonic? Sonic Unleashed was my entire childhood, says Tiskaya. The G-Gamer says Sonic Mania was amazing. Yeah, You're Tearing Me Apart says, my favourite Sonic game is either Mania or Generations. Jess says, my favourites are Sonic Hero. Wow, I've got a lot of Sonic fans here. Jess says, my favourites are Sonic Heroes, Sonic Adventure, Sonic Advance, and Sonic Unleashed. Ethan's Drawings, the first Sonic game I played was Sonic Generations. And Zayden Doan is saying, man, this is bringing back memories already. Like, yeah. I'll say this about my thoughts on the Sonic games. I found it interesting when I played Sonic Rush on the DS, but after a while, the side-scrolling Sonic games, they can get a bit tiring because it feels like you're playing the same game, you know. And you can go very fast, but it doesn't feel like you're really controlling your speed. You're just... A lot of times it feels like you're just running as fast as you can into a brick wall, and you can't stop yourself. And for me, that's... It did feel like it got a bit boring for me, the side-scrolling ones, after I played the first one. It felt like I was just doing the same thing again after that. But yeah, I remember enjoying Sonic Heroes, having a lot of fun with that when I was a kid at the store. But yeah, Sonic was, I enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it as much as other people do. But yeah. Big Bash says, Eric, have your parents played video games before? Yeah, my dad used to play, I think it was on computers, like back in the really old days. You know, when everyone used to like just copy CDs or cassettes, is where the games were on. My dad played them then. He has played, they have played Street Fighter. We got those those old plug and play stuff where you would like just connect something to your TV and you could play like Street Fighter. My parents played that. My dad would always play M. Bison. My mum would play Chun-Li. My dad would always kick our butts with Bison. He really would. Let's see. Yeah, my dad also played Yu-Gi-Oh! Was it called Nightmare Troubadour or something on the DS, which I played as well. My brother and sisters played it too. It was so fun. My dad also used to play that. Didn't get the rules down on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game properly. I mean, in that game, they could actually they didn't put the rules of, like, say, the Egyptian god cards in properly, and they could get destroyed with Mirror Force. Even though in the cartoon they can't get destroyed with that. So yeah, they really were useless, certain cards that were supposed to be much stronger, like the Egyptian god cards being a big noteworthy one. George Phillips says, my mum just button mashed as Chun-Li. Well, of course, because that's what her big move is, isn't it? Even Blanca had that as well. The electricity attack that he would use. Oh boy, hold on a second. Like I said, still recovering a little. Jason King says, what's your favorite game? My favorite game of all time is a game that I played when I was a kid. It's called Unreal Tournament 1999, which actually won the Game of the Year awards that year. So yeah, that was like it was a really fun story. I'll tell you that some other time, but that was a very fun story, how I got that game. And my dad would never normally get me games when I was younger, so the fact that he did, it was a real treat kind of moment. And I knew when he took me to the game store, in the UK here, we don't have a GameStop, we have a game store. It's just called Game with a purple logo, although they're shutting them down now because they really screwed their business. But yeah, he took me there and he goes, pick what game you want, and if it works on our computer at the time, you know, you had to make sure that your computer was compatible. And he goes, you can get it. So pick a game that you want. And me, I knew that I would want to pick whatever game looks cool on the box art. But I said to my dad, I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk getting something that looks cool, but then when we play it, it's not. So I asked my dad, can you ask the person that works in the store if they can recommend the best game? And the guy recommended a game called Unreal Tournament, and I looked at it, I was like, this is not a game I would ever pick up. But it does look mature, and I think it had a 16 rating on it or something. So I was like, okay, then we'll get this. My dad got it, and it was the first time I ever played a first-person shooter on a PC. Yeah, that was the first time I ever played a first-person shooter. It was just so weird how you have to use the arrows and the control button to jump, and then you use the mouse to aim your... It just felt so weird. And the first level was so hard for me and my dad at the beginning, but then eventually when we got the hang of it, it was so much fun. That is my #1 favorite game of all time. And I actually have got it on the Steam Deck. I wouldn't prefer playing it on that, but it is kind of a cool novelty to play it on the Steam Deck. But it is much better to play on your computer with a mouse and keyboard. Fantastic game. My favorite game of all time, that is, folks. The Dark Lord says, my family aren't gamers. I used to play Minecraft, stopped for reasons. My sibling still plays Roblox. I disapprove. Jacob, I don't think I have a least favorite video game because you just play it. If you have a game you don't like, you play it a little bit, then you just stop and you just go elsewhere, play something better, don't you? The G Gamer says, what was the hardest game I ever played? Oh, that's a hard question. I really gotta think. The hardest game I've ever played. Oh, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one, maybe some other time, but I don't know what the hardest game is I've played. Because I think for the most part, every game I've played, I've actually ended up beating if I had fun still playing it. I played it to the end and beat it. Alright then, so, is everyone happy then with Keanu Reeves as Shadow? Here, I'll put a poll out actually. Give me a second, let me write a poll. And you can all vote if you like Keanu on this or you want someone else. Keanu as Shadow. I'll put yes, no, and I'll put a third option. Not bad, but prefer someone else. Alright, start the poll. You guys can go in and start voting. So I'll take a look at that poll again later and we'll see how it goes. Alright, we got a Superman story coming up next, where we're going to talk about James Gunn. Okay. You know what? We'll look at this poll first. We'll let it go on for a few more seconds, and then we'll end it, and then we'll see what you guys think. Big Bash, I've not made progress yet. I've been working on the Avatar video. I've been working on the Puss in Boots video. I've also been working on the two quicker versus videos that I'm trying to get out, which is the Godzilla vs. Kong vs. Godzilla X Kong video and the Ghostbusters Afterlife vs. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire video. I'm trying to get those done too, so that's why I'm basically I've not gotten to it yet, because I've got these big undertakings here. And I still haven't finished the script either for the Spider-Man video. I've recorded quite a lot of it, but I still have some others to finish writing, and then, you know. Alright, I'm going to end the poll now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Logman, when I say the Avatar versus video, I mean the Avatar, the Last Airbender Netflix show versus the original animated. Yep, there you go, the 9-door has told you. Let's see. Okay, so Keanu as Shadow. Wow. 78% of you was like yes, and 21% of you said not bad, but prefer someone else, and 0% of you said no. Whoa. Impressive, that is. Yeah, no one did. Okay. I know Batman's Gamer, it's a problem, but that's the feeling it is when you want to cover a lot of things, you know. Okay. Time to go on to the next story. Now, these lovely looking couple here is supposed to be Jonathan and Martha Kent. They are supposed to be the adopted parents of Superman. The G-Gamer, I don't even want to think about Netflix adapting Korra. And Korra's not even as good a show as Avatar, so that means that if they adapt it, it could be even worse. I don't know, Jason King. I'm gonna have to get closer to finishing it before I get an idea of when it'll be done. Alright. So. The Kents cast in James Gunn's Superman. James Gunn has cast the Kents, which I'm surprised that I forgot to think of. There are just so many characters in this film that the Kents went completely over my head. But it turns out that James Gunn has cast them. And for Jonathan Kent, he has cast an actor named Pruitt Taylor Vince as Jonathan Kent. Let's find him right here. This dude. Now, what do you guys think when you look at this dude? And then you look at the Jonathan Kent in that picture. This was not what I expected when I thought they were going to cast Jonathan Kent. I really did not expect that. Arathorn says, I find it funny that the guy playing Jonathan Kent was killed by John Bernthal in The Walking Dead. So the Punisher killed Superman's dad. Injustice fanfic? Kind of, yeah. Yeah, he does look a bit like a... Yeah, look at you guys. Yeah, no, is what Eric said. Looks nothing alike, says Kevin. Looks like the dad from Black Widow. Kinda does, doesn't he? Some of you saying, laugh my arse off, he looks nothing like him. He looks like a bald Peter Griffin, says Batman's Gamer. A lot of you are not into this. One of you say it looks like one of Lex's minions. Yeah, a lot of you don't seem to be into this, and it's kind of cool to know, because that's exactly where I stand, to be honest. I did not like the look of him either. Now, before we talk about what I think of him, let's talk about the actress they got now to play Martha Kent. The actress they got to play Martha Kent is a woman named Neva Howell. I think that's how you pronounce it. Here she is. She's playing Martha Kent. Now she has been in a lot of things, but the thing she's most known for is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Now, I have not seen that movie, so I don't know if she's a good choice or not, but we'll talk more about her in a minute. But my brief thoughts are that I don't mind the casting for Martha Kent, but Jonathan Kent, this would be the first fat Mr. Kent, and that's just not the image any of us have for him, at least to my knowledge. I find it a very weird choice. Now, I have not seen him in anything, but apparently he is in Stranger Things. And I was like, is he? How come I can't remember him? At first I thought he was that guy that found Eleven in the first season, and he gave her burgers and chips and ice cream, and then he got shot. I was thinking maybe it was him. And I looked into it, and it wasn't. It turns out it wasn't him. And like I said, I looked into it, so I found out why I didn't know he was in Stranger Things. It's because he is in one of the worst episodes of Stranger Things. He was in Season 2, Episode 7, where Eleven goes off with those thugs. So, let's see, here he is. There he is. He's the guy in that chair. Let me see if I can make the image bigger for you, so you can see what he looks like. There you go. There's your Jonathan Kent. Big Bash says he looks like an overweight Walter White. The Dark Lord says, unless this surprises us with a good performance from both actors, I'm not into either of their castings. She looks kinda old for that role. Yeah, but Martha Kent is meant to be old, so it makes sense in my opinion. But yeah, that's him. I never looked at him when I was watching Stranger Things and thought, you know what? That's Jonathan Kent. I never looked at him that way. So yeah, that is weird. I'm not too into that casting. I don't think it looks great, to be honest. But anyway, I guess we'll have to wait and see how he does. But right now, I just don't see it. Now, to put it in perspective for you, my favourite Kents, the Kents that I think are my favourite are Martha Kent and Jonathan Kent in Smallville. Let's see, where is it? Here you go. Here they are. These two, whenever I look at them, I instantly think, there's Jonathan and Martha Kent. If you look at the way they talk, the way they were introduced in the first episode of Smallville and stuff, I was like, wow, they actually worked. They look like farmers when you actually watch them in Smallville. They just fit the whole farm aesthetic. And Jonathan, John Schneider is what the father's name is. The actor that plays the father. He was apparently in the old Dukes of Hazzard. He is a phenomenal actor, and excuse me. He, I thought, was fantastic, and so was the mother who plays Annette O'Toole, who plays Martha Kent. They, to me, are my favourite Kents, to be honest with you. In Zack Snyder's version, we had Kevin Costner, who I thought he could have been good, but the dialogue he was given was just so... It didn't make him look like it didn't put him in the best light. And on top of that, I don't feel like they did a good job with his character in Zack Snyder's version. The actress that plays his mother, Clark's mother in that, I can't remember. Thanks, guys, for saying bless you. I can't remember the actress's name that played Clark's mother in Man of Steel. But I thought she was decent. But yeah, to me, I don't think they ever came close to the Kents in Smallville. Now, like I said, I am willing to just see how it goes. Maybe James Gunn saw something in their casting that none of us are privy to yet. But it is an interesting choice to take Jonathan Kent and make him, a bit chubbier. Apologies again. I feel like a... Apologies again. That's 3 times. Rohan says, did you know that same actress who played Martha Kent in Smallville, who was in the It miniseries, in the adult section, who played Beverly, the adult Beverly? Yeah, exactly. She was. That was something that I realized after watching Smallville, which was interesting. Don't worry, Adam Grunther, I agree with you on that. We'll talk about that in a second, because there is a little weird backlash going on. It's not big, thankfully, but there is a bit of a weird backlash going on with the casting for this movie. So, let's see here. What is Huey Toonmore saying? It sickens me that Snyder fans on Twitter are fat-shaming the new actor for Jonathan Kent. Not only that, but they also accuse James Gunn of being a Where is that accusation coming from? Huey Toonmore says Jonathan Kent was portrayed as fat in Superman vs. the Elite. Was he? I've seen that movie. I can't remember. Only person I remember in that movie was Martha Kent watching him as he was fighting, and they thought he, I think, died in that. I don't remember Jonathan Kent in that. I've not read the comic, if that's what you're talking about. I've only seen the animated movie. But yeah. Now, there's another thing I want to bring up. Now, this is one thing that I think about the Superman movie in general. I am a bit dubious or a bit... Yeah, I don't really quite see why you cast them, but I'm willing to wait and see. Yeah, thanks, Ben, for that information, but that's more of a it thing, that is. Yeah, Adam Grunther, that's the different thing, though. Most people don't know who the High Evolutionary is. Adam Grunther brought up a very good point. The actor for the High Evolutionary looked nothing like the character, and he was incredible. I say, let's see where this goes. I agree with that, let's see where this goes. But that's not a like-for-like comparison. People know Jonathan Kent. He's in, like, you know, the public atmosphere. He's in pop culture history, basically. The Kents. Everyone knows who the Kents are. So, people know who the Kents are. No one knew who the High Evolutionary was, except for certain comic geeks. A lot of people did not know. So, with Jonathan Kent, we've all got much more of an image as to what he's like, and, you know, what vibe you're supposed to get from him. So, I would make that distinction right there. But aside from this, aside from that casting, I think James Gunn has done a fantastic job with the casting. Like, I got my suspicions about that. We'll have to wait and see. But I would say his casting has been fantastic. And he's not pointlessly race-bending or gender-swapping anyone either, which I really do like. Because like I said, I've said this to you guys before, I for sure thought that he was going to make Jimmy Olsen a black character. Like, just race-change him for the sake of race-changing him, because it would be the easy choice. But he's not done that. Here's the casting. Let's make this bigger, so you guys can see. The Kents are right at the bottom. Let me just raise that up. There you go. I'll give you a better view. So, as I was saying, James Gunn has done a fantastic job with the casting and has not pointlessly race-bended or gender-swapped anyone. And the only character he did race-swap was Perry White, and I have no problem with that, because he hired a terrific actor. I know that actor can do a fantastic job, and a funny job, so I have no problem with that. If you watch Suits, you'll know, you'll have seen that actor that plays Perry White. He's a great casting. But there's this... The crazy crowd are saying this. Here's an article that I came across earlier. This is what the article claims, by the way. Fans slam James Gunn's Superman cast for lack of diversity and low budget. Now, excuse me. Now, I know what low budget means. They're saying that it's not an A-list cast, which I do have thoughts about, so that is a good point. But it's this part that bothers me. When they say... Here, look. When they say that fans slam James Gunn's Superman cast for lack of diversity. Look, the actual fans are not going to slam it for the lack of diversity. They're going to be appreciative that in this day and age, where they pointlessly race swap and gender bend characters, they're going to be very happy that James Gunn has basically just... He's nailed it with the casting. Like, nailed it. Look at this. Let me bring it close. We'll go through them. Let me see if I can... Let me see if I can get rid of the studio setting here. Okay, looks like I can't do that. Alright. Okay. Now, look at the casting. From David Corenswet as Superman, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Look at this guy that plays Jimmy Olsen. Like, this guy's got freckles and everything. He's a fantastic choice, and if you've seen him in other pictures, he does a phenomenal job. Now, as you can see, there are more diverse people as you go through this list. Like, if you scroll through, you've got an actor here that was supposed to be a white character, which is Otis, but they've got an actor called Terrence Rosemore to play him. So, James Gunn has put diverse casting here, but he's done it in the right places. The engineer, you've got an actress as well, Sarah Sampaio, I hope I'm saying that right. You can basically see that these are actresses that they are more on the diverse side. I remember reading about that. They said at the time when they cast them that they were, you know, of their different ethnicities and stuff. They described all that. I agree, Adam Grunther, that the hate is coming from Snyder fans, but it's also coming from just the generic Hollywood types, like the people in the media, like who are complaining about games and saying that they're not being diverse, even though games have always been diverse. Just put a fun character in there. They've always been great. But you can see they've done a fantastic job with the casting. And they're trying to say, oh, well, it's not diverse. I remember reading some of the tweets from this article that they were quoting. And some of them were saying, oh, there's no Asian character here. I get Hollywood hates Asians and this proves it and stuff like that. It's like, no, James Gunn is basically casting it the way people want it casted. Like I said, I didn't think in this day and age we could get a Jimmy Olsen that was like a white little bumbling little dork who has freckles on his face. I thought in this day and age you just can't do that they wouldn't allow that. But James Gunn let it happen. And I was so glad to see that. He'd race changed Perry White, but it was a good race change. So James Gunn has done a great job with the casting. But the progressive types think that he should have done more race bending. That's why they don't bother Marvel, because Marvel do that all the time. Just look what they did to the Silver Surfer. But they have a problem with it when James Gunn is basically doing great casting like this. And look at it. He's got a very diverse cast here. So I think James Gunn has knocked it out of the park with his casting. Spirit Hero, you're speaking as an Asian. I'm speaking as an Asian as well. You don't have to cast every ethnic person in one single movie. You just don't. You have to find the people that act the part, and I think to an extent, it's important, to an extent, look the part. When you have a Superman, they need to have a certain look. A Lois Lane, they have to have a certain kind of like presentation and look. The same with Jimmy Olsen. The same with Lex Luthor. But he's got looks like some different choices that he's making, so I'm curious to see how he does. Again, like seeing Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, that can either go good or either go bad. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm glad with the casting that he's done. Big Bash, quite frankly, I'm always protective over Middle Eastern people. For their own safety, I just wish they weren't portrayed in movies, because I don't think Hollywood, who have a bias towards them, are going to do well by them. So I personally would always just prefer if they're not in it, because I don't think the Hollywood types are going to do well by them. So yeah, those are my thoughts basically. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you think that you're open to it, or do you think no, it's just a straight no? Jess says, Eric, this is not the first time Perry White was race swap. I mean, have you seen Lawrence Fishburne version? Yeah, exactly. Lawrence Fishburne did a great job too. Until he had that weird exposition-heavy dialogue in Man of Steel, which just made him less likable. Oh, wow. Isabel was Dora the Explorer in the live-action movie. Is that her supposed to be? Where? Interesting, that. Never would have thought. Well, a lot of you did not seem to like it at the beginning, but now it seems like you're into it. Or you're like, works for me. Yeah, I still need to see more. To me, I can't unsee Jonathan and Martha Kent from Smallville. Seriously. They are just... I'm telling you, they're perfect. They are, as Jonathan and Martha Kent. Whenever I think of Jonathan and Martha Kent, their faces pop into my head. It's like whenever you think about Uncle Ben. You look at the first Raimi movie, that Uncle Ben's face pops into your head. It's the same thing. Big Bash, I agree. Glad he is not pointlessly changing gender, race, and sexuality of characters for no reason. Respect. Yeah, that basically just shows to me that it's like they are willing to race bend, and if there are smart castings like this, I don't mind it. But so long as they keep it smart and they don't get preachy with it like Disney have and Marvel have, and it's like an epidemic they're suffering down there because they keep making the same mistakes. Jess says Isabel is going from a superhero movie that everyone hates to a superhero movie that everyone will love. Yeah. Wasn't she... Oh, let me get rid of the Smallville casting here. What was she in again? Was Isabel in... was it Madam Web that she was in? Oh, Arathorn brought up a good point. If they're spending less money on the actors, it means more money can go to the CGI and costumes. That is true. They can spend a lot of their money, move it from casting over to other departments, so that would be cool to see. I hope they do. Yeah, you guys confirmed it. Matt Hughes in Madam Web. Batman's Gamer, who's donated $5. Thank you very much for the donations, buddy. I always say donations really help. Says, I'm most surprised to see Nathan Fillion from a cop in Rookie to Guardians 3 to a Green Lantern. He voiced Green Lantern before. Yeah, that would be an interesting thing. I'm glad they're making him Guy Gardner and they're not making him Hal Jordan or anything, because I would have not been happy with that. I especially wouldn't have been happy if they said, oh, he's totally Jon Stewart, everyone. But yeah, I do like the casting that I've seen so far. And thank you, Batman's Gamer, for the super chat. Very helpful. So yeah, this is just a dumb article. These are articles that you can just ignore. I think James Gunn is doing a fantastic job, and I'm giving him all the praise in the world for that. You can do representation, but it doesn't always have to be so heavy and on the nose obvious like what Hollywood has been accused of doing. Just look at Disney and the rut they are in with regards to that. Jess says, has Perry White always been the DC version of J. Jonah Jameson? Yes, but I would also say he's definitely his own type of character. Spirit Hero says, have you seen the article where the author is wondering why there are no black people in a samurai show? Well, if it's got Japanese actors and stuff, then yeah, they're clearly not going to be in it. They're just... It's kind of like reverse racism, where it's like they're just looking at the color of everyone and judging them instantly. If it's a samurai show and it's set in Japan and stuff, there's not going to be black people there. I'm not saying no, but there has to be. Big Bash says overrepresentation ruins things, like how people view certain groups. Having something shoved down your throat makes you sick of seeing said thing. Yeah, if they forcefully shove it, then yes, but if they gracefully do it, people will not mind it. But Hollywood and grace, those are two words that don't go together. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next story now, unless anyone's got anything else to say. Fireboy says, Eric, I love the Superman casting. I think it will be good. Oh, was there Hui Toonmore? There actually were black samurai back in feudal Japan. I didn't know that. Oh, you learn something new every day. Thanks for letting me know. Okay then. Jacob says, what was your first introduction to Superman? It was in Justice League, the animated show. I think that was my first introduction to Superman when I was a kid. And the fact that he was talking to Batman, I was like, wow, these two just seem so awesome. Okay, before we move on, I'm just going to say, yes, I know, you guys are telling me the Deadpool 3 trailer drops tomorrow. Don't worry, I'll cover it on my Patreon. Joey Nichols says, no, not Joey, George Phillips says, these activists worry me. I'm really concerned that storytelling is going to be limited in the future so they don't upset anyone. Storytelling should have no restrictions. Well, that definitely can happen in the future, but I think Hollywood knows now they need to move away from it because it's not making them any money. Disney in particular are suffering from this. I think that if you look at Joker 2 coming up, that doesn't look like a movie that's going to start sugarcoating things. I'm sure it will deal with the abusive relationship between Joker and Harley properly, and it won't hold back just because people on Twitter will complain about it. Batman's Gamer says it best. Overall, James Gunn has my trust. Yep, I think that's a great way to end this story right here. Alright, time to move on to the final story of the day, which is going to be Quentin Tarantino. Now, for those of you that don't know, Quentin Tarantino said that he was going to stop making movies after he's made his 10th film. And he said that his 10th film will be a film called The Movie Critic. And he's apparently been writing it and writing it and writing it, and just recently now, we've heard that he scrapped his movie, The Movie Critic, as his final film. So he doesn't want this to be his final movie anymore. So it turns out he's going to go write and make something else. So what it seems to me is that this is a project that just didn't pan out. That he was writing it, and he just didn't have the same passion in it to where he was like, yeah, probably he wasn't happy with the script, and he probably wasn't happy with saying that I want to make this, because you need a level of investment to write something, and you need more level of investment, much heavier investment, to go out there and direct it. So yeah, I can see why James Gunn. Sorry, not James Gunn. I'm still off on that last story. I can see why Tarantino would want to leave this, and I gotta tell you, I'm glad. Because Tarantino is known for making movies like Inglourious Basterds. He's known for making Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill. What was the other one with Samuel L. Jackson? When the most recent one he did a few years ago. There was Django Unchained, but I'm talking about another one that he did after that, The Hateful Eight. Those are great movies that he's done. And I remember when all his movies here in the UK have been 18, which is basically NC-17, if NC-17 was NC-18. That's what it basically was. So I was never able to watch his movies in the theatre. I had to wait for them to come out and watch them at home. Because legally, I just couldn't watch them in the theatre because I was not the right age. So by the time I did turn the right age, I was like, cool, now I can finally watch Quentin Tarantino's next movie in the theatre. And the next movie he released in the theatre was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Let me see if I got the poster here. Do I have it? No, I don't have the poster here. Oh, that's a shame. But yeah, and I saw that movie in the theatre, and it was basically 3 hours of random stuff happening. There wasn't like a proper story in it. And I was like, darn it. I thought my first Quentin Tarantino movies in the theatre was going to be his classic types, the ones you expect from him. But it wasn't. Instead, it was this other kind of movie that he's making. And to me, The Movie Critic very much feels like the same thing. It felt like he's just going to be doing another Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie, and if that's going to be his last film, what a disappointing way to go out. So I want his last movie to be like the ones he makes, so I can at least enjoy that as his last film in the theatre. So that's what I hope. George Phillips says the UK rating boards are stupid. Venom 2 has a goddamn 15 rating. It does, and I don't think it deserved that 15 rating. Neither did the first one, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's the story with, essentially, it's a shorter story, but essentially the story that's going on with Tarantino right now is that he's going to scrap the movie and he's going to go make another one. So he's going to write something else. And I don't know if that means he's not going to make another movie. Like, he might say he'll go beyond 10. But it does seem like this one, he's just like, yeah, I'm not happy with the way it's turning out. I'm not passionate for the story anymore, so he's just thrown it out and said it's not worth it to be my final movie. So, yeah, that's cool. I'm glad. I hope he makes something else like Django Unchained and all that. Erythra, I thought Django Unchained was a good movie, but I've not seen it in years. Big Bash, a 15 is kind of like in the middle. It can kind of be like a PG-13, but it can also be a rated R. Like, Logan was rated R, for example. Logan was rated 15, for example. But then so was Venom 1 and 2, which are PG-13 in America. So it's kind of like in the middle of PG-13 and rated R. And then, that's what 15 is. Arathorn says the UK gives ratings based on technicalities and conveniences. How is Alien vs. Predator a 15? It should have been a 12. I'll tell you why Alien vs. Predator is a 15 and not a 12. The reason why is because horror movies in general don't get a 12 in the UK. Any horror movie, even if it's not a scary horror movie, will always get a 15. The only exceptions to this rule that I'm aware of is a movie called The Others that was made in 1999, I think, with Nicole Kidman. I don't know how that movie got a 12, because it is one of the more scary horror movies. And the other horror movie to get a 12 was The Woman in Black, because it came out after Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and the studio wanted a lot of kids to watch that movie, so they asked the BBFC, and they said, what cuts can we make to get it to a 12? And the BBFC actually gave them cuts to make, and when I went to go see the movie in the theatre with my brother, my younger brother, we saw it and we were like, whoa, like, this is cut, but it's still very effective and scary. And apparently that movie got complaints from parents that it shouldn't have been rated 12. And I agree. Of all the movies, horror movies, they could have given a 12. I don't know why they gave Woman in Black a 12. That was clearly a 15. But yeah, they gave it a 12, and it was the wrong call, I think. Because even with the cuts that were made, it was still pretty effective. Too intense for a 12. And yes, George Phillips, Scream is an 18. In fact, if you listen to one of their podcasts, the BBFC said that they gave Scream an 18 pretty much after they saw the opening sequence, because it was just so intense back in the day. They said they pretty much instantly then gave it an 18 right at the start of the film. They didn't have to watch any more to give it that rating, which is funny. But here's the thing. The UK are better at ratings than when it comes to America, because America is not responsible at all with its ratings. Because America, the ratings are really meant to sell tickets, whereas in the UK, they are actually meant to supervise what younger audiences watch. So, for example, in the US, a 5-year-old can watch 50 Shades of Grey. Something like that. Or they can go watch some super bloody movie. The only reason why is because they want to sell tickets. So basically, the rating in the UK that we have is 12, which basically means that you have to be 12 to see the movie, and if you're not, then that means that you have to be accompanied with a parent or guardian who is 18 or over to watch the movie with you. Otherwise, you cannot watch that movie on your own if you're not 12. And when it comes to 15 and 18, that parent or guardian thing does not apply. You have to be either 15 minimum or 18 minimum. And so yeah, basically the 12 in America with the R rating, they basically take the rule of the 12A rating, where they say you gotta be, you can have to be accompanied with a parent or guardian if you're not 12. They take that and apply it to the R rating, that same principle. And it might suck for the kids who want to watch an adult movie, but it's the best thing to do ultimately, because you have to supervise what the kids watch, and I don't think there's R-rated movies out there that kids should be watching. Movies like X, for example, or movies like the horror movies where they're really gross, or the 50 Shades movies, as I mentioned, or maybe whatever it is. There's a lot of movies out there that kids should not watch, but the rating system in America doesn't care. They are not there to monitor what your kids watch. They are there to sell tickets. That's why America sells, as well as because it's a large population, they make so much when it comes to these movies, because parents can bring their kids to an R-rated film. In the UK, they gotta find babysitters. So yeah, Arathorn says, I have to check people's ages at work for films rated 15 and 18. It does happen. By the way, I work in a cinema. That's interesting because I remember when I was growing up and when I was 15, I had always given my ID for a 15 movie, even though I was 15. And the lady, even though it was always the same lady, she's apparently the manager of the place as well. I said to her once, I says, like, this is like the 6th movie I saw that was 15. I said to her, she asked for ID. I said to her, don't you know it's me by now at this point? And then she goes, yeah, I know, I still got to do it just to make sure. And I was like, all right. Because she remembers me, I remembered her. And she still kept asking for my ID. When I was 18, though, they didn't. I don't think they ever asked me for ID, which is funny. They just let me go in. My first 18 movie that I saw was The Raid 2. And the first 15 movie I saw, I think, was Expendables, the first one, which I enjoyed. I didn't like the later ones, but the first one I really enjoyed. George Phillips says, I was watching Scream when I was 13, and I'm fine. Yeah, but I've also heard... Exactly, so for some people it can work, definitely. Like, for me, if I grew up watching a lot of these 15 and 18 movies growing up, I would have been fine as well. So yeah, no, she doesn't work there, Big Bash. I've not seen her there for years. It was a middle-aged woman. She was in her 40s or something. The Dark Lord says, I've only seen like 3 films in the theatre, so I don't see this stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, Charleston. I think that was my brother's first 15 movie, was It Chapter 2. My younger brother. Oh, Spirit Hero says, my first rated PG-13 movie was the 2005 King Kong. I was only 6. Interestingly, here in the UK, like in America, you have the G rating, you got PG, and then you got the PG-13 and the R and the NC-17. In the UK, do you know how in America you guys had, like I said, the U, I mean you had the G, you had the PG, but in the middle at the time, you did not have a PG-13, you just had an R after that, and the PG rating was known as being quite edgy. And it was Indiana Jones, I think, and the Kingdom... Was it? No, not Kingdom of Crystal Skull. It was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, I think, that created the PG-13 rating. So, yeah, that movie created the PG-13 rating. And it's interesting because that created the PG-13 rating in America. In the UK, we had a U rating, which is G, a PG, and then we went straight to 15 and 18. We didn't have the 12 rating at the time, but do you know what movie did give us the 12 rating? It was Tim Burton's Batman that gave us the 12 rating, because they couldn't give it a PG, they couldn't give it a 15. They were going to give it a 15, but they couldn't give it a PG. But in the theatres, they created the 12 rating. Then when it went onto video, it got a 15. That was it, Kevin. It was also Gremlins, I think, that gave it a PG-13 as well. That was one of the early PG-13 movies. So yeah, that was basically the first, like, American movie that gave us the 12 rating. And it's interesting because that 12 rating was not on home video, though. Like how you have PG-13 on home video, it wasn't the we didn't have the 12 rating for home video. But guess what? It was another superhero movie that gave us the 12 rating. I think it was for home video. And it also gave us an expansion of the 12 rating, because that 12 rating that Batman got in 1989, it meant only kids that were 12 or over could watch it. It didn't mean that parents or guardians that were 18 or over could bring someone younger than 12 to see it. That only happened when Sam Raimi's Spider-Man came out, because the movie got a 12, but a lot of parents were sending in complaints that they basically wanted to take their kids to go see it. They had like kids that were ready to go see the movie as part of birthday parties and stuff. And yeah, they basically wanted to go see the film as well. So what the BBFC did that year, 2002, they re-released Spider-Man, but they gave it a 12A. They added an A to the 12, which basically means what the R rating or PG-13 means, which is where if you're not you have to watch it, you have to be 12, and if you're not, then you have to be accompanied by a parent or guardian who's 18 or older. And that's where the 12A came from, which is interesting. So yeah. Very interesting. Aretra says, are you thinking of seeing Monkey Man and Civil War? I'm thinking of seeing Civil War. I don't think I'm thinking of watching Monkey Man, to be honest with you. By the way, some of you, if you can't get your questions in, I always say that's why the super chats are there. Help support the channel, and you'll also get your questions viewed instantly as well, so bear that in mind. Jacob says, another reason as to why Disney should have showed more respect to Indiana Jones. Yeah, it has its mark on cinema, not just in terms of pop culture, but also in terms of the rating system. In the UK, by the way, we didn't have a 12 at the time, so Gremlins, it got a 15, and parents wanted it to be PG because it was the new Steven Spielberg produced movie. And the ratings board were like, yeah, we really wanted to try to give it a PG, but we just couldn't because there were certain things in there that we couldn't let kids look at and take as example. So they had to give it a 15, which meant a lot of kids in the UK that wanted to watch the next Spielberg movie couldn't watch it. George Phillips says, sorry, I get so sensitive about these rating boards because they've just annoyed me for years. And whenever I hear a mention of ratings, I get so pissed. Does that mean that you're in your early teens, I'm going to assume? Because that rating would get on my nerves as well when I was a younger kid. But when you're older, you just don't think about it anymore. You just think, okay, that's great. I'm able to watch whatever. Guardians 3 was rated 12, The Logman, which is basically like a PG-13. Oh, that's interesting. My dad's first R movie was the original Carrie. That's interesting, that. Hi, reviews. Despite Gremlins 2 being PG-13, it wasn't violent as the first one. Yeah, it wasn't. I think it's fair to say we're on the Q&A now. I just knocked my microphone. The G-Gamer says, for video games of your childhood, was there a game you wanted but weren't allowed to play at the time because of the rating? No, never. The rating was never a problem for me. The problem for me was getting a console to play the game on. Because, my parents would not allow us to have consoles at home. So I had to sneak around them and ask my uncle to get me a DS, which he did, and I was so happy. And then I asked him a couple of years later to get me a PSP, and he did, and I was so happy. Prior to that, he did get me a PlayStation 1, but that's, I think, when the PlayStation 1 was pretty much, like, you know, phased out, and my uncle had a friend who had a PlayStation 1 and a bunch of games, which were some legitimate, loads of them were not, but it was just a bunch of games for me to play. And I remember I played it a lot and stuff, but ultimately my dad said I couldn't keep it connected to the main TV in the living room. Take care, Fireboy. Thanks for dropping by. So yeah, for me, no, rating was never a problem. It was, and games back in those days, they wouldn't get as gross now, because ultimately they didn't look as real. So if they were doing anything that was 18 related, it didn't seem as real enough to make it seem of anything of concern. Because anything I saw in a game was far worse than a movie that I had seen on video, like Terminator 2 or Matrix or Die Hard. So I had seen far worse when I was younger than any of these games were going to show. So yeah, that was never really a problem for me. And if it did seem like there was going to be anything that my parents would probably not like, I just didn't tell them. But thankfully the games that I played, the stuff that they probably wouldn't have wanted me to, was done off screen. Like God of War Chains of Olympus, there's a point where Kratos is, basically getting it on with a couple of girls. They literally pan the camera away before anything happens. So thankfully there was nothing wrong there. There was a bit of nudity there though, and that's where I looked away, because just because I knew my parents would probably say no, I knew myself that there were certain rules when I was younger of things that I was allowed to look at and I was not allowed to, so I still followed those rules. So that's why they always used to trust me when it came to stuff like this. Lee Dilly says, have you seen Castlevania? Would you consider doing a binge video on it? I did watch Season 1 when it came out, and that was cool. I watched the first episode of Season 2, but I've not quite gone on to continue it. I don't know. It's, I'll see if I can watch it at some point, but I don't think I'll do a binge watch on it, because I got to do a binge watch on something that people actually want to see. I don't think I'll get views on Castlevania if I did a binge watch on that. The big reason I did a binge watch on Echo is because it was only 5 episodes. It was easy. And I hadn't done a binge watch video in a while, so I thought I'd give you guys one. But yeah, the next video I'm going to be doing is Let's Watch, which is on Patreon, of Invincible Season 2, the second half of it, because I've still not seen it. I was ill, remember. So yeah, I got to catch up on some stuff and then do that. Review says, will you do a binge video on Daredevil Born Again? I guess I could, when it comes out on my Patreon. Not a binge watch, but a Let's Watch video on my Patreon. Arathorn999 says, I finished The Boys Season 1 earlier today. What are your thoughts on the show? I loved Season 1. It was great. Yeah, it was really good, really dark, really messed up stuff. Jason says, what did you think about Arkham Knight getting rated 18? I was excited. I was like, wow, they're really going all out with this final one being as dark as possible. I think the only reason it really did get an 18, though, because apparently Rocksteady were aiming for it to get a T, you know, a teen rating, or a 16 rating in the UK, 15, 16. They were aiming for that, but I think it ended up getting an 18 because the Arkham Knight uses guns, and when you play as him, you're shooting people. So I think that's what knocked it over to 18. But people don't take the 18 rating as seriously in video games as they do in movies. With movies, it's a bigger deal. With games, it's like, well, the rating below that was 16. 18 is just 2 numbers higher, so how much more could it be? I find that weird. Peggy's 16, and then it's like, okay, now you got an 18 rating. Okay, so it's just dark enough to be... It's dark enough to increase its age rating by 2. That's not really, you know, proper dark, if you ask me. George Phillips says GTA 5 was the game where people started to care more. I remember they were trying to make a big thing out of that, weren't they? The media loved to do that. So that's what they were trying to say. They were going to try to say Joker. Remember when the first Joker came out and they were saying how that's going to promote violence? I knew that once they had done that, it's like they wanted something violent to happen, because it's like they were really trying to like say, if anything violent happens, it's this movie's fault. And it's like, that's a scary thing that the media were doing, because if there's someone out there listening, they're thinking, wow, this is my chance to actually do something, and then blame it on the movie. It's like the media were calling for that to happen. So, yeah, that was ridiculous of them and very irresponsible. But I know that I always knew at the time that if that something did happen, they would have blamed Joker for it, and then they would have started blaming games again for it. So, yeah. Review says, will you do a Joker 2 versus video when it comes out? Yes, I will. Joker 1 versus Joker 2. Yes, I will be. Jacob says, have you seen any Broadway shows? I haven't, but I do wanna. I want to watch those Derby Theatre... not Derby Theatre. What do they call it? Theatre plays? Theatre plays. Because there's the London Symphony Orchestra, which I went to at a point recently. That was really cool. First time I ever went to that. After I went to the London Symphony Orchestra, I was like, okay, now I want to watch some other stuff that I normally wouldn't watch, like a play or something. So yeah, I do want to. Because apparently there was a Woman in Black play, and I was like, ooh, but that's too far away from my location. So I was like, okay, where is another one? And yeah, I'm waiting for a good play to come out, then I'll go book tickets and see it. Aritra says, my mum for some reason took me to see the R-rated Wachowskis movie Cloud Atlas in theatres when I was only 7. Cloud Atlas? I thought that was a 12 here in the UK. Was that a 15? If it's rated R, it must be a 15 here. The only movie in the UK that got the rating that was easier for kids to watch was Terminator 3. Terminator 3 got an R rating in America, and I never knew that, because in the UK, it got a 12, which is a PG-13. No cuts were made to it, and it got a PG-13. The same R-rated version you guys saw, we had that as a 12 somehow. That scene where she shoves her hand in that guy's chest and it comes out. How does that get a 12 rating? Maybe they thought it looked so fake or something. I don't know. But yeah. George Phillips says, wasn't that what Mickey tried to do in Scream 2? Yeah, he did try to do that, didn't he? Oh, wow. Smoothie King says, Eric, Canada is insane. Horror movies are rated OG-13. Laugh my arse off. Scream 6, Thanksgiving, Abigail, many more are rated of 13. Even the John Wick films. Honestly, though, I'm not even complaining. Laugh my arse off. Yeah, I wouldn't complain if I were you either. That sounds pretty awesome. But it's not responsible, though, isn't it? Abigail here in the UK is rated 18. Which is basically a hard R or NC-17. Except the NC-17 rating is not as harsh as our hard R rating, which is 18. So NC-17 means only 17 and up can watch it. Our 18 rating means only 18 and up can watch it. So you gotta be a full-on adult. It's funny, when I was a kid, my dad watched Scream 1, 2, and I think he saw the third one in the cinema as well. And I said to him, when he saw those, I was like only 1, 2, 3, something like that. And I said to him, I bet you never thought that 15 years from now, these Scream movies I'm watching in the theaters while I've got a 1, 2, 3-year-old kid, I bet you never thought that 15 years from now, my kid will be watching the sequel to the movies that I just saw in the theater. And he goes, yeah, he never expected that. So that was a kind of fun thing. So yeah. Yeah, so from Scream 4 onwards, I've watched each of them in the cinema. Oh, George Phillips, can you not? Are you in America or are you in the UK? And I'm curious. I want to know what your rating system is where you are. Oh, wow. Kevin says, did you know that Planet of the Apes 1968 was rated G? I didn't, but I'm not surprised. Do you know that Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope, was also rated, in the UK, was rated G? RG is basically U, which means universal. It's a triangle with a U inside of it, which means 3 and up, essentially. Yeah, Star Wars Episode 4, 5, and 6 got the U rating. And I think the first one, was it The Phantom Menace? I think that got a U or a PG. And then the second one, Attack on the Clones, got a PG. And then the third one, Revenge of the Sith, got a 12. It was the first 12, which was a big deal for Star Wars back in the time. Oh, George Phillips, you're in the UK. So I take it you're not 18. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? How close? Because there was one movie I wanted to see where I was only a month and a half away from turning 18. And I was 17 when the movie was out. It was Evil Dead, the 2013 remake, and between you and me, you guys and me, I did ask for someone to sneak me in, and they did. And I was only a month and a half away from being the age anyway, so yeah. That was my first 18 movie when I was 17. Oh, you're 15. George, oh, you're 14. Oh, yeah, 4 years away, yeah. I know the feeling. Trust me, I've been there where you are. I mean, on the plus side, the thing I can tell you is that 18 movies don't happen very often. When I turned 18, I was like, cool, now I can watch 18 movies. I only watched like one, because there wasn't really much 18 movies coming out at the time. If there were, it was only because of sex in there. It wasn't because of the violence that was bumping it up to the 18, and I felt like that was a cheap way of watching an 18. I was like, if I want to see an 18 movie in the cinema, I want it to be because of the violence. And now there's plenty. There's more now. But I remember back then, when I turned 18, there wasn't any 18 movies coming out. They were all 15. And even if they were 18, the studio was asking the BBFC, what cuts can we make to make it 15? So I was like, damn. Rohan says, what do you think of the opening scene of It Chapter 2? Are you talking about from a rating perspective or just in general? Thanks, Cosmic Studios. I am feeling better. Thank you very much. Although I've got some eczema patches on me, which is irritating. Please for some dry skin, but... no, I haven't seen Has Been Hotel. I know what it is, though, but I was thinking of watching it, but I was like, it doesn't look like it's really for me. Yeah, George Phillips, me neither. It's not really much about the people in the room. It's more about me seeing it on the big screen. It's just, that's what makes me feel awkward. Because people say, well, violence is worse. It's like, no, it would be worse if it was real violence, but we know it's fake. But when people are making out on screen, it's like, what is it? Oh, it's two real naked people, naked strangers rubbing up on each other. That's not something that you can compare to fake violence, where you know it's like a magic trick. Like when the magician pretends to take off their finger. Anyway, Rohan says, what do you think of the opening scene of It Chapter 2? I liked it, but it did feel like it wasn't necessary. It was in the book, I'm aware of that, but it felt like it was only really there just to give us a horror opening sequence. And I didn't like the gay couple that were there. I felt bad for them the first time I saw it, but then when I watched the movie the second time at home, I was like, you know what? It's not nice to say, but they brought it on themselves, and they had it coming. Well, not both of them, the one. The other guy's boyfriend was saying, let's go, when the other group of people were calling them names. and they looked very violent and aggressive, and the guy was saying, come on, let's go. And then the other one was like, no, I want to insult this guy's hair and his hat and his whole clothes style. And I'm like, you idiot. It's like, whether you're... They're trying to make it out like it's a gay crime, which is what it's supposed to be. But it doesn't matter whether you're gay or whether you're not. If there's someone that's calling you names and looks like a group of violent people, you don't say, you go. You don't say, no, wait a minute, I want to insult their face. I want to insult his hat. I want to insult his hair. At that point, anything that happens, you've kind of brought it on yourself. Not you kind of, you have brought it on yourself. So they wanted us to feel bad, but I didn't. I was like, why did you do that? You should have just walked away. Orangutan says, I'm not allowed to watch Deadpool 3 because I'm underage. That is going to be the unfortunate thing. When Deadpool does come out, I think it is going to be rated 15 in the UK. But but in the UK, though, no kid can watch it. You have to be 15 or up. That's the rules for it. In America, though, you will be able to, just watch it. Because, if you have a parent or guardian that's 18, that'll be it. Jess, you ask me these questions, which I swear you do it just to kind of get to me. Jess says, Eric, what would happen if She-Hulk was in the Winter Soldier and Civil War? How would you react? I wouldn't react very well, but Civil War is one of my top 5 favorite MCU movies, and to put She-Hulk in it would just make it worse. So I would say it would just make the movie infinitely worse. And if she was in the Winter Soldier, heck no, there's no place for her in there. But nowadays they would do something silly like that. The G-Gamer says, for physical media, was there a DVD menu you really enjoyed or thought was cool when booting up the movie? For me, the Avengers DVD. I never got the Avengers DVD. I can't remember. Were we getting digital movies at that point where it was just the movie? I can't remember now. But, Reviews, you are 15. If you're in the UK, are you in the UK, Reviews? You're saying, I'm 15, can I watch it? You need to know what the rating system is like in whatever country you're in. But if you're in the UK, then yeah, you can, if it's 15, that is. Which it should be. I don't think they're going to make it 18. It's hard to get movies rated 18 nowadays. Because 15... What would be 18 back then is 15 now. So if Logan was released back then, like in the late 90s or something, or early 2000s, it would have gotten an 18, like Blade did. Alright, the G-Gamer says, was asking me about DVD menus. Yeah, DVD menus were so great back then. Now Blu-ray menus and stuff are so boring. Just a still image. Like, anyone can make that at home, but these are studios. Yeah, there were so many great DVD menus back in the day. Some that were not so flashy, but I still liked them anyway. I always liked the Star Wars DVD menus because they would always have a different menu each time with a different location. That was always great. I also liked the Matrix menus. They were fun. I loved the music that played there and how they edited the clips together and synced it with the music. That was fun. The Lord of the Rings had nice menus. Harry Potter had nice menus. I remember Harry Potter 3 had a DVD menu where when you go to the scene selection, it would play really scary music, and I would not really go into the scene selection part of the menu very much when I was younger because it was scary music at the time. Music which now I just find nice to listen to, bizarrely. Yeah, Big Bash, I like it better as well. The only problem is that nowadays, where everything is flash storage based and everything, and streaming services, it's just an inconvenience to put a disc in there. So I would only do that if it's a 4K disc or something, not if it's a DVD disc. I can't remember the Men in Black 2 menu. But there were some DVD menus back in the day where there would just be a still image as well, and those were so boring. Oh, I know one. Bulletproof Monk. The movie apparently was not so good. I liked it when I was a kid. I don't know what I think about it now. But Bulletproof Monk was a really cool DVD menu because it had 2 stickmen that were fighting each other, and that was so fun. That was a really cool. Me and my brothers and sisters, we laughed, and my mum and dad laughed as well. It was so good. Gregory says, thoughts on Dune 2? Sorry, I had to leave and come back, so maybe you answered, I didn't hear. I actually didn't answer, but I did see the message earlier, but I was busy doing a story, so I didn't mention it. I haven't seen Dune 2 yet, but I am looking forward to seeing it. Like I said, I caught a big cold, and now I'm trying to just... I've got all this work which I just need to try to get back in order right now. So, yeah, right now I'm busy. Then I'll get on to, watching some other stuff for myself. Because I still got to do that Puss in Boots video for you. I'm already working on it still, writing notes and things. But I've got other videos that I need to catch up on too. So I'm trying to do all of that right now. It's a lot. It is a big undertaking right now. So, yeah. The G-Gamer, I always enjoy when the DVDs included deleted scenes or commentary about the movie. Yeah, when I was young, I didn't care about the commentary for the movie. When I got older, I did, and I went back, and it felt like I had so much more new content to listen to. Sonic OTP says, would you do a versus video with the animated Garfield movies and the live action Garfield? I don't know, maybe at some point. George Phillips says, are there any 15 rated films coming out in late December or early January? That's near when my birthday is. I don't know. October is where Joker is coming out, Joker 2. That'll most likely be a 15. So there's that. At the end of the year, though, they usually try to put family movies on Thanksgiving and things. You know, films for a lot of people to watch, a lot of the family to watch. Yeah, Rohan, I agree. I think there was a problem with It Chapter 2, and it was to do with screen time as well. But if you want to know my thoughts on that, check out my It Chapter 1 versus my It miniseries versus It Chapter 2 video. Marvin, we've already talked about that. You're gonna have to probably go back at the beginning of the stream and watch that afterwards, and you'll see my deep dive thoughts onto it. But basic thoughts, I'm open to it, but we have to see. But I do give other ideas as to who we could have gotten as Shadow, which I think would have been better. Jacinda says, do you think Joker 2 will make $1 billion? I don't know. We will have to see. Honestly, I don't think it will. Because we've had a pandemic in the, like, you know, after the first Joker movie. So viewing habits have changed since then. Also, Joker was like a worldwide phenomenon because there was this whole BS thing that the media were doing where they were trying to make anyone who wants to watch it seem like they were toxic or just man babies, like all that BS. Like, they accuse other people of hating movies, like, say, the 2016 Ghostbusters before watching it. But then what did they do with Joker? And then they started insulting people who wanted to watch it. It was disgusting behavior. But yeah, that did help drive views, though. It helped drive people going to see the film multiple times too. So I wonder without that if it will, especially post-COVID now, where viewing habits have changed a lot. So yeah, because in the theaters, I'll say this, they're not doing as well. The theater in my location, their ticket prices have gone down. Like, normally for a standard movie ticket, it would cost about £10.50, £11.50. Now it's gone down to $5.99 because they are just... I think a lot of people are just choosing not to come because they really abuse the ticket prices and they just made them shoot all the way high up. And they weren't giving great experiences inside the cinema either that warranted the extra costs. And their premium screen, their one big premium screen, their main one, was like £16, £17. So yeah. Feather Guardian says, are you done with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? I never played it to begin with. I was done with it when they announced it. I was like, this doesn't sound good. Then when I saw gameplay, I was like, this looks like crap. And then when people said it looked like crap, I was like, well, I already thought it looked like crap. The new Halloween trilogy was PG-13 in Canada. Smoothie King, are you serious? Whoa. That was a movie I saw as well in the theatre. The first Halloween, the 2018 one. Me and my brother went to both go see that in the theatres. Yeah, that was also an 18 movie. But yeah, my review for Abigail is finished. All I've got to do is create the thumbnail for it, a description, and then I publish it for you guys to watch. Also, guys, whenever you watch my videos, please do give them a thumbs up as always, and share them if you can too, so it'll really help expand the reach of my channel, because that's something I'm really trying to do, and it's really tricky to do lately. So I'd appreciate if you can, you know, help, further help by sharing the videos. That would always be cool. Arathorn, it really does. Canada does sound odd when it comes to films. Eric says, Captain Eric, Jess asked if you were taking over the MCU, what would you do? I would do something like Deadpool kills the MCU, or I would make an Avengers movie where lots of the Avengers die. Basically, you need to clear the board because there's too many. And a lot of the heroes that they've got, no one cares about them. And then characters like the heroes have families. Like if you look at Echo, she has a family, and I mentioned in my last binge watch video, I said they did not kill any members of her family off. Like it shows Marvel have no balls. They really don't have any guts to take out even these nobody characters. So they really need to have some emotional consequences here, and I think they need to really bring down the list of heroes they got, because they've got way too many. Smoothie King says, Eric, what was your opinion on Abigail? You gotta stay tuned for the review. I mean, I put in all this time making the review. It wouldn't be cool if I just told you the review, like, lazily in a live stream. Would like less interesting this way. So, stay tuned for the video. That video was a bit of a pain in the ass to do as well, by the way, because it's a Universal movie and they love their copyright claims. So yeah, I had to do some alterations. Hi Connor, great to see you here. Do you think Bad Boys 4 will be a box office success, despite the slap? I don't know, the movie does look interesting. It seems like it's taking a page out of Mission Impossible's book, how the two characters have to prove their innocence, essentially. So we'll see how it does. But I've not seen the third movie, and I only saw the first one and the second one when I was younger. So I need to see them again. What did George Phillips say? Odeon and Cineworld have these limitless cards for unlimited movies. Do you think they're worth it? £14 a month. It can be worth it if you go to see a lot of movies in the theatre. Then yes, it is worth it. But if you go to watch, say, one movie a month, then you're paying far more for that one ticket than you probably would have if you just went in and asked for one ticket. Big Bash says, Eric, what is the most recent copyright claim you got? I got about 3 or 4 of them on these last 3 or 4 Abigail videos that I put on YouTube. I think there's 4 claims, 4 or 5 in total. I did like 4 or 5 attempts of re-editing my Abigail video to put it there, and it got copyright claim again. So yeah, that's so if the video does not come out as quick, just assume it's copyright claims, and you'll know that's why I probably didn't, you know, put the video out after the stream like I said I would. So just keep that in mind. Jason King says the third Bad Boys is the best. That's interesting. Good for those Muslim directors, by the way. Because we all know how Hollywood treats them in there, so I'm surprised. I think it was because of Will Smith they were able to, you know, get their gig at Bad Boys, and how they're able to get their gig again at Bad Boys 4. George Phillips says, I might get one if I ever move within walking distance of a cinema. That's the interesting thing. I had a cinema that was only about 10 minutes walk from my house, but it was a crappy cinema that never maintained itself. And then after the COVID, it shut down, which is unfortunate because that cinema has been there since before I was born. My dad, I think, used to watch movies for the first time there. Me and my family used to watch movies there as I was growing up. That's where we used to go. So yeah, they've shut that theater down essentially, which is a shame because I always love seeing it there. And they're gonna replace it with this crappy Cars place. Um, but yeah, so the other cinema is 30 minutes away, walking wise. I've got an Odeon closer by, not closer by, but a bit further. You have to drive there though, and it's a pain in the ass to drive to that place. So, yeah. George Phillips says, one time you dropped a video while I was at school, and I genuinely couldn't concentrate because I was just thinking about it too much. Oh, the fact that my videos give you that much excitement and anticipation, that's great, that is. I know what that feeling is like. Not anymore. Now, when you're older, you feel like you've gone through that excitement so many times, you know how to control it, but when I was younger, I didn't. So I know that feeling. What video was it? Do you remember what video it was? Where was the question from Big Bash? He gave a question. I can't find it. It just scrolled up on the list. Oh, there it is. Big Bash says, Eric, how does it feel knowing you've been doing YouTube for 16 years? It's kind of freaky to know that it's been 16 years. And to know that I've aged that much. It makes me feel very old in that way. But, yeah, for the first several years, it was literally just for fun. Because YouTube didn't allow you to monetize anything. So I literally did it just for fun. And it was fun. It was years later when it felt like you could make a career out of this kind of thing, and that's something I've tried to chase ever since. Still not quite there yet, but that's why I've always had, like I said, support from you guys and your donations and your Patreon support and all that stuff. So that's the stuff I always try to rely on, as well as the revenue from YouTube videos, and then of course sponsorships when those happen. So yeah, it is very tricky to make a career out of it, but it is something I'm very proud of. When I look back at all the videos I made, that's a lot of videos I've made. Let's see, what are the... It was the Into versus Across the Spider-Verse. Oh, really? That was the one. That wasn't too long ago, I think. That was after the Across the Spider-Verse came out then, so that wasn't too long ago. That's interesting. Name a movie and I'll check what the age rating is in Canada, says Smoothie King. Alright, 50 Shades. The 50 Shades movies. Check that out, Smoothie King, and let me know what the rating is. City of Ember says, what is your thoughts on the Disney 2000s era, since Disney is remaking some of them? They were great. Emperor's New Groove is one that we watched in the theater when I was a kid. Loved that. Watched it so many times growing up. Let's see, what else came out? Don't know why it's not coming. Oh yeah, Incredibles came out. That was great. Ratatouille was good. Sorry, Big Bash, what was that? About the donations? Across the Spider-Verse, Big Bash will come out, I think, in 2028. I mean, the fact they've not given a year is very telling. So yeah, I think 2028, personally. I agree, reviews. I think it's also underrated and overhated. I don't like the 2003 Daredevil movie, Jess. I really don't. But Big Bash, if I think I understood your question right, the donations don't get taxed. If you donate through Streamlabs, I don't get taxed at all. I get all the donation that you give. But if you donate via YouTube, they'll take a certain percentage. So yeah, that's why I always put the Streamlabs link on the top of the chat. Funny says, Eric, thinking about the script, and sometimes I go to your videos to see the problem, and sometimes I check to make sure it's not there, and everything is not there, so that's good. Okay, that's great. I'm glad though, because a lot of people have said that they watch, which I'm surprised by, that they watch my videos and the way I analyze them to see that they don't do the same mistakes, which is very flattering, so thank you very much for that. Smoothie King has come back. Eric, to answer, it's not R, lol, it's 16. So practically any film with sexuality isn't R, it's 16. Canada is genius. So 16 like 15, the 15 rating here in the UK. So it's like a version of the R rating. But 16, I think, is still a bit young to be seeing that level of stuff, which in the UK it's got an 18. Reviews, yes, my versus videos are scripted. Oh, Big Bash says, I'm saying, do you use your donations to pay your taxes? No. In order to pay your taxes, you gotta reach a certain amount first, and then that happens. But no, I use the donations to watch movies in the cinema so I can review them. I use it to buy stuff for the channel so I can make the channel better. And I use it to just kind of like help, like, accumulate the funds so I can make a living, basically. Because that's what YouTube is. It's meant to be my business, and it's something that I'm trying to turn into a full-time career. It's something I do spend my full time on. And I'm trying to really, like, turn it into something that can be, something of a career, basically. So that's why I've got my Patreon. It's why I've got, all this stuff, basically. And I've even allowed you guys to commission videos now as well. So I'm trying to open it up more and find all other, methods of getting revenue in and trying to make a career out of this. That's the dream, basically. That's the... Let's see. George Phillips says, didn't Lightyear get like a 15 or something stupid in Japan? Connor says, it's kind of like Peggy with 3, 7, 12, 16, and 18. Smoothie King says, no, it's a bit different about the 16 rating. No, it's a bit different. It's more like 14. Your 15 is basically R. Our 16 is just a random rating, not to give it an R. So our 18 is your 15. Wow, that's a bit confusing, ain't it? So 16 basically means you have to be 14. That's a weird number. At least our numbers make sense. 12, 15, 18, and we get it. But you're saying here, 16 means 14, 15 is basically R, and our 18 is R15. That is interesting, that is. How would you rank the Arkham games worst to best? Well, worst to best, I would say Arkham Origins, Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. And I'm not putting Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League in there because I refuse to believe it's an Arkham game. Alright guys, I'm going to end the stream in 9 minutes, so then it'll have been a 2-hour stream. So any questions you want to ask, if there's any donations that you wanted to do, or any super chats you wanted to do to get your question up there, now is the time. Because in 9 minutes, I'm out of here. And like I always say, anything you donate is all to support the channel, and it really helps, so it will be appreciated. She-Hulk versus Megamind 2. That's such a random one. I keep saying, though, if you want those random versus videos, commission them on Patreon. I'll do them. I've said that, and you guys have come up with a lot of scary versus ideas, but I would have to do them. Big Bash, the Abigail versus video will not be straight after the stream, but it will be after the stream, yeah. The G Gamer, what was the worst movie sequel to a movie you loved? It's a very good question. Son of the Mask is one of them, I'd say. Big Bash says Venom versus Venom 2 versus Morbius versus Madam Web. Again, I've got those perks on Patreon. If any of you guys want to see me suffer, that's basically what you have to do. Smoothie King, the idea is, yes, to release the review today. Deadpool 3 versus Logan? Could happen, but I would, we'll have to see closer to the time. Thoughts on Scream 7? I've done a live stream talking about that. It's not a movie that I want to support after what the studio did with it. What was it? Skydance, was it? Was it Skydance? I can't remember now. But, yeah, the way they handled it, I was not impressed. Was really annoyed. So were a lot of people. That's actually why I paid for my ticket to go see Abigail, and I didn't use a free ticket, which I could have, but I didn't. I wanted to support it for Melissa Barrera. The G Gamer says, guys for fun make what type of versus videos good or bad for commission? Spyglass, that was it. Thanks, George Phillips. Yeah, the G Gamer says, guys for fun make what type of versus videos good or bad for commission? Yeah. I always say that's on Patreon. All you gotta do is just do the perk and then tell me which versus videos you want and I'll make it for you. Jess says, thoughts on Blade 1998? I liked it. I saw it when I was very young because my aunt let me see it when my dad didn't want me to, but she babysat us, me and my sister, and we both watched it. It was fun. Rohan says, do you prefer Avatar: The Last Airbender animated show or Christopher Nolan Dark Knight? That's a very good question because Avatar is my number one favorite my number one favorite TV show, and The Dark Knight is my number one favorite movie. I don't really have an answer because they're two completely different things, like completely different. But I'll just say Avatar because there's so much more of it. It's a TV show, isn't it? Oh, hi, Movie King 3000. I don't know if you just joined the stream now, but I'm going to be closing out the stream now, I said, in about 5 minutes. So I've said if there's any messages you want to send, any super chats or anything, it's got to be done in that time. Oh. Movie King 3000 says, with the Netflix show's canon, I really hope they explain how Kingpin becomes mayor after all the horrible stuff he did in Daredevil, because there is no way New York would forget about it. I know, I mentioned that earlier. I said they better do it right. You know, because why would he become mayor after that? I mean, we know our politicians are corrupt, but when it's that clear, you know, it's like they can't just let him in after that. Because Kingpin is also just a supervillain, isn't he? So it's like letting a supervillain in. I don't think the politicians would want that. They'd want to do things their way. Big Bash is hard to really say. It's a mix and match of both, so I can't really say for sure. The Dark Lord says, what is the worst movie you've ever seen? I never liked the first Cars movie. That was a horrible experience I had asking my dad to take me to see it, and then I did, and we were both bored out of our minds watching it in the theatre. So, there's worse movies out there, but I remember that was my most boring experience ever. Reviews says, The Batman or Captain America the Winter Soldier? The Batman. Alright guys, 2 minutes. The Batman versus My Little Pony. Again, if anyone wants to see that done, that I actually would do it. It's commissioned. If it's commissioned on Patreon, I actually would do that if you requested it. The G Gamer says, Optimus Fowl versus Cars 1 versus Thor's Love and Thunder. Again, I've got 3-way versus videos options available for commission. I would do that too. Bye-bye, says Funny. Big Bash says, worst movie you loved as a kid but hate now as an adult? Inspector Gadget. Loved it as a kid, don't like it now. I'm sure there's others as well, but that's the one I can think of. The Pickle Tickler. Why do you love the R rating and violence? It's just fun in movies. You know it's not real, but it's so impactful every time it happens. So yeah, it's good in that fake setting. The same in video games too. It's like just feels like a real world that's like a sandbox in a way. So yeah. The Dark Lord says, "So guys, please don't torment our great captain. I want the ship to stay sailing." You can never torment me. And if you're talking about those crazy ideas for versus videos on commission, that will be supporting me. That's not going to be driving me crazy. The Movie King 3000 says, "Are you going to react to the Deadpool 3 trailer the second it comes out?" I'm out, so you have a good day, Eric. Yes, I will. I'll try to do it. If I'm at my computer, then yes, I'll do it as soon as it comes out, and then I'll put it on my Patreon, and that will be today or tomorrow, whenever it's going to happen. So, yeah, that will be what I'll do. Okay, guys, now it's past time now, so I want to thank all of you very much for joining me on the live streams. Thank you very much for being kind to me. Thank you very much for just supporting me. I really appreciate it. We didn't have as much super chats today, but that's okay. I don't expect it to happen every single time. And you guys have always supported me many times before. As always, you can always reach out to me and contact me, whether it's on Patreon, on YouTube, or you can... I'll always basically be there to respond to you. And if I can't respond to you, we've always got these live streams every week. So thank you very much for supporting me, as always. And the like I said, the Streamlabs chat donating link is always there, so that's not just for live streams, that's any time. So if you don't want to do it now or you want to do it some other time, that's entirely up to you. But thank you very much for your constant support. I always appreciate it, everyone. I always enjoy chatting to you every week, and I look forward to doing it next week. So thanks very much for watching. Be sure to follow me on Patreon, because I will be covering that Deadpool trailer, and I'll catch all of you very, very, very soon with that Abigail review. Take care.